Welcome everyone to episode 133 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff and podcasts too, and this probably was my favorite conversation this year. And not because I just really was pleasantly surprised. Every once in a while, you meet somebody in your life that just really floors you with just what they do. Miranda Krogstad is a poet, a performer, and it does an art called Poetry Slam, and it's not battle rapping. It's one of those like almost I want to say mixed mediums. She actually uses the crowd, and she uses her own like dramatic license to perform her own work, and I think it's a really cool thing. I met her at a party at When Words Collide, and I was, like I said, really impressed. Because, like I said, this is somebody that goes out there and she does some really cool things as part of the community as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing like an album or something from her, because I really think she is one of the happiest people I feel like I've been around in a long time. And I really enjoyed my conversation with her, and I think you will too. If you get a chance to see her perform, do so. The one real regret I have is I didn't get a chance to see her before the surgery. I'm going to have to wait until the springtime next year sometime to get this opportunity. And so I don't miss out like I did. Go check her out. And whenever she releases her concept or her poetry, I don't know what we're going to call it, or her album, I guess, for lack of a better term, it will be amazing. It really will. All right, let's get to it, shall we?
I'm just being keep going. I'm just letting you know I'm turning it on. So anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good. Because if it's good, I mean it's worth recording, right? So
Perfect.
So there you go. So as you can see, are you a little nervous about this?
You know what? I've never done a podcast before. I've done radio interview before, but I've never done a podcast. So this will be fun.
But yeah, well, I don't know if you listen to any of my episodes. I don't really have a master plan with anybody. It's just like,
I love it.
Yeah, so we're gonna shoot the breeze. So for me, since we were talking about my book, and I figured, what the hell is my podcast? We can talk about this. Start there. Collaborating with people is a very rewarding experience, especially when if they want the same thing you want in terms of the end result, the product being the best they can, things like that. It's a lot of fun. Now it's my story, so basically I have a direction, and then she'll go and she'll draw. But she'll call it, like, the thing about Florence was she called me to task on a few things. Like, this can't work like this. I'm like, why can't it work like this? It's like, and then she explains it. It's like, God damn it, you're too logical for me. Right? But the thing is, again, for me personally, I love comic books. That's I grew up reading comic books, and one of the things I love about comics is it is truly a collaborative medium. There's a bunch of people that put things together, and it plays a big. It honestly plays a big thing in all my work. It doesn't matter if it's a novel, whether it's that, because I realize this is an important thing. Nobody gets there on their own. Like, nobody.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And nobody. Not now. No matter how talented you are, people have to support you, and people have to be willing to help you. And one of the things I've learned is that nobody has to help you ever, and that's something a lot of people take for granted. She's nodding her head on that one.
Yes.
So.
Oh, yeah. I should say words out loud.
This is
not a video. Okay.
No. Now, a year from now, I will have a video, so you can nod and do facials, and I will probably ask you back to come do that. It'll be at my house. You can drink my beer and
there you go.
Just like, hey, you go.
So for the podcast listeners, I've been nodding in agreement this whole time.
Yes.
Collaboration, definitely a very rewarding experience. I would agree too that if somebody has the same vision of you, that's what makes it magic. I've done quite a few collaborations at this point with musicians, with artists. I'm doing an artist collaboration right now, but mostly with other poets. And if you choose someone whose work you love and who you really vibe with, and they really vibe with your stuff, that's when the magic happens, I find. And that's when you can get such rewarding things that you wouldn't get without their input, you know? It's like, I wouldn't have thought to have twisted it that way or to put that visual with it. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you do. So here's the thing. How did you get into poetry in your case?
How did I get into poetry?
Yes.
Man, I kind of, I guess, fell into it gradually. I started by watching a TED Talk. My friend showed me Sarah Kay's poem, Point Beat. And after I saw that, I went, that's the thing I want to do. That's what I've been waiting for. All right, I want to be able to do that. And so for months after that, I lurked in my basement with my door shut and my headphones on, watching deaf poetry jams for hours at a time. Probably super creepy in retrospect, but
So it's okay.
just kind of the mad scientist version of studying spoken word.
So did you scream "It's alive! It's alive" a few times?
I wish I had to have completed that image.
Yeah, that was amazing. Just that whole visual. I see like a white coat, maybe your hair dyed like in this white spiky-ish kind of deal. By the way, doesn't look like that at all. She's a very pretty woman, nice long hair, all that stuff.
I can pull off mad science.
I believe it. So,
Get my sweatpants on, get my messy hair going on. I look mad science for sure.
Is it like spiky?
It's like kind of, what's that? Not Krusty the Clown, but his sidekick Sideshow Bob.
Sideshow Bob
has that like triangle hair that's kind of like frizzy and
as long as you don't have a thing for rakes, we're good.
Yeah.
Once upon a time. But anyways, you were watching Deaf Poetry Jams?
Yes, so watching Deaf Poetry Jams, being a mad scientist. And yeah, so it took me months to actually write my own spoken word poem. I wrote some poetry. I've written poetry for a long time and done creative writing, and I did debate and music and stuff in high school that's kind of related to it, to the rhythm and the sound of it and the performance. But when I saw spoken word, I was like, man, this is something I really want to do. So I got together an application to the Banff Center Spoken Word program. And so I found out about spoken word in about 2012. In 2013, I got accepted into the spoken word program about 6 months later. And I have no idea how I got in. I had never performed a poem. I had never gone to a slam. I had only done this weird lurking in my basement. But I guess my performance experience in music and my my creative writing expence combined to be enough.
It sounds like you had a lot of raw potential, is what it was. Like it wasn't. You might not have been as polished as some of the people there,
yes.
but the thing of it was in your case in particular, if you have experienced debate, if you have experience like being in front of people, that's 90. I wouldn't say 90%, probably about 60 to 70% of the big issues people face up there doing poetry slam. Because one of the hardest things, I did a live podcast about 3 months ago, and during doing that live podcast, the weirdest thing about that at first was getting used to the fact that people were watching me.
Yes.
Right. It's like, who are you people? Oh yeah, you're my friends, and I invited you to this. Why did I do that? But life choices, people, life choices. But once I again, there's the ability though to tune it out. That's a really, really, really big. It's important because, again, you want to have those butterflies because they help you perform, but you don't want to. Actually, something we were talking about earlier, doubt. A little doubt is good.
Yes.
But too much, and you're not good at that. But if you're someone that's been on stage, if you're someone that's actually gone out of their way to have a discussion or interacting with, okay, especially if you can interact with the audience, that's a huge plus, especially for what you do. If you can do that, well. Even you might suck. I mean, you might suck, but you will get better.
Yes.
Once upon a time, okay, so this is an aside. Like I remember listening to early Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
He sucks early. like just my opinion. He's not. The sound he ended up projecting was way better later, but the thing was he was figuring it out at the beginning.
Yes.
and people who signed him and people who listened to him, right, okay, maybe he's off here and here, but he's got this down, he's again, you look to the people's strengths, not necessarily their weaknesses, because that's especially since I do collaborations. I look at that with artists I work with. What are they good at drawing? What do they suck at? Do some more of this, less of that, and watch them develop. And probably what your group said, she can perform. Her writing is okay, maybe great. Who knows? Maybe you blew the doors off, like with your mad scientist. I'm sorry. I got that in my head now.
You can always picture me as that. That's fine.
Yes. But no, you're just you're one of those people that that when they saw you, they said, okay, she's got potential, and then they figured we'll give you a shot, and here you are.
Yeah. You know, I totally agree with on a couple of counts. The experimentation process, you know, having failures, you say, you know, if you get up there and you have the opportunity to bomb, or you can succeed. And I say, you know, failures are just as informative. I have written a lot of poetry that I've never performed in public, because either it's too personal, or it, you know, reveals something about somebody else that wouldn't be suitable for the public, or it just wasn't quite working, but it was such a worthwhile experiment. And that's how I try to view my poetry and my performances. It's just as experiments. And I think that's where you improve at whatever art form you're doing, is if you're not afraid to quote unquote fail, but really successfully experiment with the wrong way to do it, you know, then you can progress.
That's just the way I look at it. It's good. It keeps you open-minded too. So we're going to get to the personal stuff. So, but now I don't need to go into great detail about that. That's entirely your discretion.
Sure.
But for me, my writing got better when I realized there's what you write in your head, like when it's just in your head, and it can be good. But I found it misses something. But when you take like in terms of what you're trying to say, something like something that really means something to you, that's when your work becomes from it's all right to ooh, sexy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So
yes.
So my question on this with you is, that was then. Now would you be more comfortable performing more personal stuff?
Okay, yeah. So I guess I should clarify that most of my work is still personal, like still based on me and my beliefs and my life, and they all start with some sort of either frustration or problem or difficulty I'm having, and then I try to write myself to a better place with it. The poetry I don't share is more personal for other people. So it's troubles I'm having in certain relationships, or breakup poems that would totally not be okay to like share for the sake of that person. Not because I totally trash them, but because at the end of any relationship, it's going to be you know, tumultuous time, and maybe that's
son of a bitch.
Right. Or even just the you know, the hurt and the process of getting to a better place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though it's all in there, I sometimes worry about when there's somebody else at stake.
So I learned this the hard way. So sometimes you gotta get those emotions out, and it's really healthy.
Totally.
You have to get them out because they don't do you any good inside.
Right.
However, and this is the thing, before you post them publicly, this is what I find. If you write something that's really like devastating and bang, and it's like boom, give it a day. Like give it a day. You come back to it. Okay.
Yes.
Am I being fair, or was I just viscerally brutal, right? And it's like, I learned this one the hard way. So, but I mean, feelings are there for a reason too, and something. It's funny because I've been like a counselor to a couple of people about certain things. I'm like, you're gonna make mistakes. They don't make you a monster. You're gonna have feelings, and the thing is, a lot of people don't understand. It's like those feelings, whether they make sense or not, are there for a reason.
Yes.
And so it's about being honest with yourself and going, okay, I am unbelievably pissed off at this.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why am I so pissed off? And actually, don't be afraid. And this is, I think, where a lot of people nowadays don't really know how to do this. Is just looking at yourself and going, okay. So I made a decision I'm going to be fixing my teeth in October. Now, when I made that decision, intellectually speaking, I was okay with it. Inside, I was angry.
Oh.
And now that didn't make sense to me. So I asked myself, why was I so angry? It took me back to the time, like one of the worst times in my life, because when I'm thinking about this, for me, it's a battle scar. It wasn't a result of neglect. It was just, there was a point in my life that was really rough, and I I learned a lot. I learned a lot about who I was. A lot of good came out of that. But now it's like, okay, I'm getting older-ish, wiser-ish, and I realize that I have to take better steps to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Self-care is huge.
Yeah. So, but I was angry when I first made this decision, and the reason being was, and it was like because it brought that thing back, and I realized there's always going to be a small part of me that's going to be angry about that time in my life because it was painful and it was hard and it was rough and I felt sometimes very alone, and that's just that's an honest thing, right? Yeah. So when I'm fixing this, it's like I have to let at least in part this go, and that's a feeling that doesn't necessarily make sense when you think about it, because most people think you're fixing your teeth, that's a good thing. It's like, well, yeah, I know it's a good thing here. Yeah. Right? But here said, like, I'm angry, I'm annoyed, everybody, it's about, it sounds like that's what you do too. It's like, okay, I am very pissed off at this, and you're probably harder on yourself than you are on other people, aren't you?
Maybe. I think just that process of having a difficulty that you're struggling with and then bring it to a more positive place, like with any journey, and I mean certainly like any like your journey with your teeth or journey with poetry or journey with whatever, it becomes personal, right? And you can certainly get to negative places and be hard on yourself and all that kind of stuff. I find poetry is my way of taking care of myself. Okay. I've actually started writing some poetry about my teeth because I had braces when I was younger, and now they've drifted just a little bit, not so noticeably, but enough that I can look in the mirror and say, okay, these two are my dad's teeth, the bottom one's my mom's tooth, just slightly off. But if you can create a narrative that's positive around those things, I find that it really helps me anyways, because I find, it's a dual journey. You have to know when to make changes in your life, but you also have to know to accept yourself each step of the way.
Absolutely.
To be like, I'm working on improving this part of myself, but I'm okay, like, right now, just the way I am,
At the end of the day, you can only do the best you can.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's the thing, right? At the end of the day, you can only do the best you can.
Much easier said than done. For sure, yes.
Simple is not the same as easy. People often confuse them as, no, it's not that. Look, simplicity is great, because simplicity gives you focus, clarity, and it gives you a vision of where you should go. But I just had this conversation with somebody. Tetris is one of the simplest games of all time. Who thinks of Tetris? Honestly. I mean, and you gotta really think about that like that, because true simplicity is not easy at all. You have to actually first perceive it, right? 1. 2, okay, I gotta take care of my teeth, but that means I have to do this step, this step, this step, this step, this step, this step.
Yes.
That's not easy, right? No, right. And then again, I'm talking about my own personal way, but it's anything. Like if
it's a good analogy, though.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Straightening out your life.
Yeah,
anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Straightening out your life, and the thing, and it's anybody. Like, nobody has it all right, and nobody. And I know this too. As I get older, I'm still not gonna have it all right until I'm in the grave. I'm gonna be like, well, I did the best I could here. I skipped this part. I'm sorry. Right, and that's what we all do that. And so it's about what you can live with. It's about, do you have the, like, and I say this as not as a challenge, but as a just a good thought. Do you have the courage to try and find whatever makes you happy? Because that's the real crux of the matter. Most people, I find, are content. Content is okay, and sometimes, again, there are points in your life that's fine. Mm-hmm. But do we take enough chances in our passions? Do we take enough chances in the people we love? Do we take enough chances with our family? Do we take enough chances on ourselves? Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, and I quote a very famous pro wrestler: playing it safe doesn't get you shit.
Yeah, and I love that idea of having the courage to pursue happiness, because, and sometimes even things that seem like progress aren't actually progress for your happiness. They're what somebody else wants for your happiness, you know? Like, some of the moments I'm most proud of in my life are moments where I said no to prestigious things that would not be actually good for my happiness. You know, that would look like a gold star and progress and happiness to somebody else, but not to me. So, for example, you know, I work at these day camps. I love my job working with kids. My boss one year asked me to apply for the coordinator position, and I said, you know what? Thank you so much. That means a lot, but no. I'd rather be working with kids, and that's where my happiness lies.
Yeah.
You know, rather than in an office dealing with very important, you know, business matters, but it's just not my strength.
It's also not for, it's just not for you.
Right,
It's not-
exactly.
yeah, you would rather you know, run around with little kids and need a nap when they need a nap, and be completely happy with that. And she's laughing a little bit at that, but it's true. They wear you out.
Yeah. But this is the thing, is to find your happiness and your truth, regardless of what people tell you about the ladder you're supposed to climb. Because in every industry, music, poetry, childcare, construction, whatever your job is, there's going to be this ladder of like, okay, so first you're supposed to do this, and then you're supposed to do that, and then you're supposed to do that. If step 5 doesn't make you happy, don't do it.
Yep.
You know, it's like, stay at step 4 or find step 1 in another place.
It's interesting because, like, for me, it's like, because of my writing career, I haven't followed any of the rules.
Yes, good.
No, but
Break the rules.
no, there actually my whole. I want to make sure it goes. There are rules, and there's like a question mark on there because that's because I no I it took me I'm doing like next year. One of my books next year is called The Stick Figure Revolution. It's a graphic novel.
Oh, cool.
It's I always joke that I draw stick figures so badly they revolt, and that'd be this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right. But it's gonna be done like a Dr. Seuss style book. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm
already all over this. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah. It's springtime next year. That's the goal for that. And
Love it.
But no, it's not following any standard. Where like a buddy of mine goes, this is not a commercially viable book.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? You know what? I always say, write what you love,
Yep.
and the audience will find you. People will love or hate your work,
Yep.
whether you're writing something that you love or something that you hate.
Yep.
So write something that you love to make yourself happy.
Absolutely.
And
no.
then it will come off as genuine too, right?
Well, that's actually the big thing. Authenticity is very important in what we do, because if we don't,
Yes.
if we're not, and you probably will attest to this more than anything else, because you are up there performing on a stage. You can, if you're feeling that work,
Yeah.
you will translate that to your audience, and your audience, whether it's 5 or 500, will get it.
Yes.
But if you don't buy it, you're going to convey that, whether you realize it or not, no matter how good you are, and they're going to be like, that's okay. They might say it's okay, and might say the performance.
So right.
Yeah.
You're so right. And I find that even I can't perform some of my older poems because it was like a snapshot of a part of my life that I don't feel truly anymore. That's not me anymore.
Yeah.
So I can't perform that poetry because it comes off as disingenuine. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, you should have different phases of your development.
Absolutely. I cringe at some of my old stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I cringe, and it's like, oh, but
Yes.
but I had to get from there to there. Even with the last
Exactly.
book, I cringed a little bit at some of it at the end there, because it's like, I'm not there anymore. I'm doing something else now.
Yes.
But you finish it off. You just know this story needs to be told, needs to be finished. It's done. It's told. It's finished. And it's like, I'm happy I did it. It's still very personal to me, and it's always going to have a place.
Yeah.
Right. But
in your journey.
yeah,
right?
yeah, and also just a personal place in my heart, because it's my first series. It's your first series. Which actually leads me to the point. Do you got like with Poetry Slam? Do you guys do albums? Because
yeah, so that's an interesting question, because how do you do spoken word? Like, how do you market it, right? Like, how do you make a product?
I actually had some thoughts on that, actually. Because,
Okay.
But see, I love the idea. Somebody you guys should model yourselves after, believe it or not, is Johnny Cash. The reason I say that is, if you listen to how Johnny Cash really sang, it's very spoken word, right? He has music kind of like as an accompanying piece.
Yes.
But it's essentially him on microphone and just music in the background, and him just spewing out what he's spewing out.
Yes.
And what you're doing, see, because you're in an interesting thing because you are doing the literary stuff, kind of, sort of. You're doing performance stuff, kind of. Like it's an amalgamation of both. So my thinking would be then, any medium I would do this in today would try to actually combine it, because if what you do, actually what any storyteller does, is they try to convey an experience.
Yes.
Right? That's what it's about. So your experience, like the full Miranda Krogstad, did I get that right?
Yeah, you got that.
Oh, yes.
Got that. Good job.
Yeah. We're in a closed room, and if she had beaten me, you would have heard fall down the stairs afterwards, but that's okay. But no, your experience probably should be it should have an audio component to it.
Right.
It should, and like, could it be if you had music, it would be either, it would depend on it would depend on the kind of poems, but like, I would be going like, you know what, I want to do like a power ballad rock poetry album, and then I'd be like, I get like this band, I'd be like, okay, listen, this is what I'm doing. Can you convey this, and that? And especially if they're friends of yours, it's like, yeah, listen, I want this angry riffing guitar. I want these drums going brrr, like at the 3,000 miles an hour, and let's do something really different. And then then okay, take pictures of you and you singing, like not great singing, like performing, you just as you are, right? And then just like make it like, take from what worked in the past, right? Yes. Look at a record. Look at. I like the concept, not like the problem. The reason why, one of the big things no one talks about with CDs is, as a package, they're really cool.
Yeah.
The problem was, like back in the 90s, or like they'd have like one good song and then a bunch of crap with it. Right. That's more than even the fact that Napster and all these things made things convenient.
Yeah.
Right. It's the fact that the way CDs were done back in the 90s, they were done with a maximum cash grab in mind, and not the best product in mind. That's why like some albums, like Nirvana's, like the Nirvana's first album, and like say like some of the late Eminem albums and a few others in between were really good in a sea of shit, right? Yeah. I mean, and that sounds, but that's because you buy the soundtrack. I remember this, like, soundtracks were the absolute worst. You have these like 2 or 3 beautiful songs that you're paying like $20-$25 for, because
in the package.
Because of the package. But as a, like, what you do, the idea of like, okay, I can do poetry for an hour, but like maybe like somewhere between a half hour and an hour.
Yeah.
Get a band to go on stage, do. Probably you would be best live because just of what you do. But even if you did it in a studio, you do ballads that way, and then you just do a release like that. And then if you want to do, like, as a little bonus, you do a little booklet with what you did, like something small, something easy. And like that's what you would do, like when you go to stuff like When Words Collide. It's like, this is what I do, this is what I do. And the other thing too, you should be performing at stuff like When Words Collide too, a little bit, like just you personally.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Did you perform?
I did a workshop. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny. You're hitting a lot of good notes. I mean, so I'm working on putting together some sort of collection, and it will probably be mixed media, like you're saying. Like, I want there to be an audio component, but you can't just have spoken word be just audio, because when you're on the stage, they get the visual component as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like you're basically giving them half of the performance if you just do the audio. So I have to add in music, like you're saying. Like I play some instruments, and the technology nowadays is amazing. Using freesound.org, you can just take like cello strings and whatever instruments you want, combine them into a track for yourself, right? So I'm doing some mixing of music that way, and layering my spoken word on top of it. Might make it more rap-esque to make it like playable. We'll see what happens.
Put baseball cap backwards. Play Grandmaster M.
I'm so not cool enough to pull any of this off. It'll be a fun experiment.
No. See, let's go back to your mad scientist thing. Because actually, that would actually be really cool if you did like a mad scientist style like matchup, because it would be a very ironic, because that's how you started anyway,
totally.
right? So what you do is you get like a chair like this, you put somebody under a blanket, you have like a switch, have like you and the best part is no makeup or anything like that. You're like, and then you go like, it's alive.
There you go.
And that's your cover.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So good. Yeah. So that's the thing, is that if you combine those visual components like photos and that kind of stuff with audio, then they can get more of the full picture. So what I'm kind of envisioning is a booklet with some of my photography of poetry, because I have an Instagram account that I post like photos of little snippets of my poetry with kind of stuff around it that relates to the poem. So I'm hoping to combine different aspects like visual, some text, some audio, some video even, and kind of package it all together so people can take whatever pieces they like. And that also has the advantage of making it more accessible too. So people who are visually impaired, they get a better quality audio track than just me saying words and them not being able to see what I'm doing. People who are hearing impaired or hard of hearing, they can then look at the photography and the text and hopefully get something more visually, right? So I'm hoping to combine something. It is tricky with spoken word, but you're hitting a lot of the stuff that I'm considering. Actually, just you have to be creative and get mixed media.
We all have to play with mediums today. Like, look, I didn't set out to do a podcast. I did that by accident, much like everything else in my career. But it's true. I mean,
but it fits, right?
It's one of those. You today more than any other time, like we have, like all the mediums are a lot closer together. Like video, audio, like spoken word, right? Everything is now accessible, and you can go from one to the other and one to the other. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's still relatively untapped. We're still going back to the older, like we're using the old, and again, past as a reference is good, right? Yes. But figuring out what they did to make it work is great. But what I'm really can't wait is for somebody to figure out like the ultimate combination of, okay, I'm a novel plus video plus audio plus maybe an image plus like all.
So many different options.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. And but the thing is today. So I mean, we're all on some level or another. We're not just artists anymore. We're engineers, and that's a very.
I like that.
Yeah, we have, because again, the tools we have today make us that way, right? Whether we realize it or not. I mean, and the beautiful thing is, I mean, we live in an era where knowledge is literally on our fingertips.
Yes,
which
YouTube's
beautiful for that.
So beautiful.
But I mean, but that's where we're at with this, right? And so, in your case, that's like I would be looking at the older, like music albums. Like you really dug, and actually think about why you dug them so much.
Absolutely,
right? Yes. And because that's like for me, again, my first novel comes out this year too, and the thing is, we're playing with everything, the book design, I mean, because my about the author page is also going to be a story. It's me battling a kitchen sink with a mariachi hat on it, and a book in the middle. So one of us is going. One of us is going in there, and it's actually and I'm going to tell because again, nobody uses the about the author page to tell a story. But you could, but you couldn't.
Why the heck not?
Yeah, exactly.
Take advantage of that space.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of the deal, and the fact of the matter is, we got to think like this now, because we're not. Again, the other thing too is, we're not bound by the some constraints make sense, because again, there's what people are palatable, but you can have fun. So have fun.
Yes. What a creative thing to do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I had thought of that. That's great. I'm going to totally steal that.
As long as it's not the kitchen sink with the mariachi hat.
It will not be that.
All right, that's good. That's good. Okay. Yeah.
No, I will say, I have already posted an adventure with me and a mariachi armchair. We took an armchair with a mariachi. I know, I'm so sorry. But that was posted on Facebook, dude. It was just me and my friends messing around. But I'm so glad that this has evolved into something that's gonna, like, people are gonna read and see. That's so great.
No.
Spontaneous, what is it called? Not spontaneous generation. It's called coexisting generation, or when two people come up with the same idea in different places at the same time?
We're tapping into this. I again don't know. Like the theory is, well, the human universal consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We all tap into that. So if the theory goes that certain ideas come about at certain times, and certain people have the same ideas at the exact same time, and it's natural because we're all tapping on some level the same thing.
It's so random that this is such a random thing to come up with the same as like inanimate objects. Sombreros.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you where my fascination with mariachi cats came from. When I was living in Arizona, I was living in northern Arizona, and we were going to do a video for a magazine we were doing.
Okay.
And the idea was we were trying to come up with money for the magazine. So we flipped the script. The Americans became illegal immigrants in Mexico, so that our boss was like one of those classic mariachi villains. He had mariachi hat, mariachi glasses, he had a guitar. Oh yeah, this was our idea, and we had this scene ahead. Like, so he's a human being too. So the scene is I get killed by him because what happens is he's watching a soccer game and his team is losing, so he's miserable. It's like, son of a bitch, you guys score. And I come in demanding more money. He just looks at me, snaps my finger, and you never hear from me again. And so at the end of the story, like, my shoes are all that's left of me from that trip to Mexico. But the magazine does come out.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So I love that. I love that. I've had that in my head for years. I'm like, I want to use this somewhere.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
Please do. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
That's such a random thing for both of us to have in our lives.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes, right? We all have different ideas. We should talk about your performance stuff a little bit. So
sure.
Yeah, a little bit before we wrap this up. And this is, so what's your favorite kind of stuff to perform? Like, obviously it's all your stuff. But
that's a nice question.
Yeah.
What's my favorite kind of stuff? Because usually the question people ask is, what's your favorite poem? And I say, and I'm so glad you didn't ask that, because I usually just say, each poem serves its purpose. And like we talked about earlier, each piece that we've written, even if it's cringeworthy to us now, got us to where we are now.
Yeah.
And it served its purpose in either a healing journey or a writing journey or whatever creative process we were going through at the time. So I don't have a favorite piece. What's my favorite type of poetry?
Well, what are you most comfortable performing? Because we talked about this, like, with different competitions, you gotta kind of read the crowd. But I also know this too. There are some things you're naturally more comfortable doing than others, right? That just makes sense, right? So, like, for you, I could see you going, like, again, it's just, again, impression. This is not actually me seeing it. Like, deep impassioned pleas. I could see that, I think you got that in you. I think you could be really, really happy. I'm not sure about funny. I think you have it in you, but I'm not sure if that's your absolute number one strength.
Dude, you're hitting some stuff on the head. I mean, yes. So a lot of my poetry is happy. I'll put that in air quotes because it ends on a happy note. Every one of my poems, goes to a happy place in the end, but usually fights with something in the middle. A lot of people mistake that because my poem starts with that middle portion of just being so frustrated and confused and whatever, sad, or whatever the obstacle is, and then I go on either side of it and make a happy intro and happy conclusion. So some people confuse that my poetry is just happy, but it is.
It's a story.
Yeah, exactly. It has a story arc, and it puts life obstacles in a positive light. Or any, like, issues I'm debating or struggling with, I try to frame it in a positive light. So yeah, the happy stuff, like, I'll even go a step further and say empowering, because I like to just, like, pump people up, because I try to think of how I want an audience to feel after they leave with my poems. Do I want them to end on that super sad note in the middle? No, that would suck. I don't want to depress people and send them off into the world. That's very irresponsible as a poet, right? So I try to sandwich it and end on something happier. So happy, I'm comfortable with. Comedy, rightly, as you said, not my natural state, even though I'm a pretty, like, quirky, random person in real life, so I accidentally end up being funny sometimes. But in my poetry, I've made a concerted effort to dabble in comedy lately. So I've done some pun poetry, which is, I know, cringeworthy for you. I love it. Bring on the cringe. Bring on the cringe.
Oh no, there's a cult of you. It's scary. It's
yeah.
So my Facebook, I had, like, there's 4 people that will throw puns, and sometimes in
I
the same,
love it.
sometimes in the same day, I'm like, no, like one I saw was despair, and it was like a black. I was like, oh, that still hurts. Even thinking about it now, that actually. Every once in a while, I'll see when I think, okay, that's clever. Like there was a pie pun, like an actual like that. I'm like, okay, it's an inner math geek, got a little joy out of that. And I will admit it.
Yeah.
I think you guys are wearing me down.
Dude, we're gonna take over the world.
Yes,
Watch
sir.
out. And this is exactly the reaction we go for too. It's just like the more cringes, the better.
Yes.
But yeah, I love that kind of stuff because it takes my comfort zone of words and brings it into something that I'm not as comfortable with, comedy. And it's not to say that I don't say funny things in my poems here and there, or especially in my little interludes or intros to poems, I can get a little funny. But when people are expecting you to be funny, when it's a comedic piece, that's where the pressure comes in. And that's where I'm actually hoping to do some comedy routines and just kind of rip off the Band-Aid and try to dive full in and fail a little bit so that I'm a little more comfortable with that.
It's just weird. 'Cause, my impression is, I mean, you carry yourself with a lot of pride, not in a bad way.
Yeah,
but,
thanks.
yeah,
Confidence.
Yeah. No, again,
Hopefully.
I'm not saying in a bad way.
Yeah.
I'm like I feel like for you, again, this is just I've met you for maybe an hour, so if I'm wrong, just again, locker room, don't beat me, but that's
No,
okay.
go right ahead.
But you it seems to me, again, maybe just off the top of my head, you've gone through some things, whatever they are. You've been able to maintain a positive outlook, which is a victory in of itself.
Yeah.
But you've done some cool things, and you've done some cool things, and because of that, you carry yourself a certain, like, again, pride, confidence, a touch of a swagger, but all right, a touch of swag. It's all good.
I love it.
Yes, but the thing is, I think for you, I want to ask your age because I don't completely know.
No, that's totally fine. I'm 27.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why, like, late 20. Like, you're a lot more. You've become a little bit more comfortable with yourself, and as a result, like, you're like, okay, I have done the super serial stuff for so long. Let's see if I can laugh at myself a little bit, and that's and it's a good thing because.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is, like, again, you don't want to beat yourself down with a little self-deprecation, but the thing is, if you can look at something you did, it's like, yeah, I was pretty stupid doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
Totally.
that again, it's not a bad thing to say that. Like, you know what? I was dumb here, and I can admit I was dumb here, and because it's kind of empowering them. So it's like, you know what? I can learn from that. Or I should have seen a better result. Oops.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I have done, like, my family is naturally funny to me, anyways.
Yeah.
Like, my sense of humor. My dad's a very clever, funny guy, and my whole family kind of feeds into that kind of energy of comedy and just making fun of ourselves and making fun of each other, and generally trying to take yourself down a notch to be a little more humble, right? Like, you can't take life too seriously. But I find in poetry circles, people are so set on being taken seriously, right? But there's such beauty in comedic poetry, and there's so many comedic poets who do it so well too. Like Mike McGee is, like, he calls himself a stand-up poet. It's like the combination of comedy and poetry, right? And there's such a beautiful place for it. I just haven't combined those worlds.
Yeah.
Right? And I'd say, like, as far as pride goes,
I'm not saying this in a bad way.
No, I totally get it. But I'll contextualize it a little bit and say that growing up I was very self-conscious, and I find that that kind of want to be taken seriously and be esteemed and whatever, the kind of pride comes with self-consciousness, but this kind of will to go back to comedy and to light stuff, that's me consciously being like, no, like, you just got to be true to yourself and just put yourself out there and hopefully people will connect with it. You know what I mean?
I think they will.
Hopefully vulnerability.
Yeah,
So.
well, a little vulnerability, but also strength. It takes real strength to be vulnerable. It really does.
Yeah.
So you see how bigger muscles on your muscles when it's all said and done.
There you go.
Yes,
Totally.
yes. I take myself very seriously doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I like it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
So I do think we have somewhat of an interview. So I'm gonna close off with two questions.
Good.
First is, now, do you have anything that people can read or that people can look at for your work? Like, is there a spot?
Yes, absolutely. So MirandaKrogstad.com. That's where you'll find all my YouTube videos, all my links to performances I've done, all my stuff, all the events that I'll be performing at. And mostly as a spoken word poet, my living is made off of events and that sort of thing. So that's usually where you'll find me, not so much in the literary realm. And then I also have a Facebook and Instagram and Twitter account at Miranda K Poet, each of those places. And then, yeah, that's pretty much the best place to find me. And hopefully on those mediums, I'll be posting whatever hodgepodge work we've been talking about, whatever
Yes.
book, album, video, combo, photography. Whatever happens.
I think you should just call it an album. Just on a personal note, that actually feels right.
Okay, so there you go. So that'll be on social media and that sort of thing.
And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can. You can do this a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast either through iTunes or through Podomatic. If you do so, please leave a review. Tell me what you liked about the show, what you hate about the show. Just don't hate too loud, okay, guys? Because I'm sensitive and stuff. Actually, it really doesn't matter to me. Just leave a comment. Let me know what's going on. If you like what you're hearing, that'd be great. Beyond that, you could also buy my books. At this point, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and The Wandering God are done. The series is complete. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at mirrorworldpublishing.com. You can get them anywhere books are sold electronically. You can also ask your local chapters, Barnes & Noble or Amazon, to get them in stock. I would love if you did. If you hate the book, just don't tell anybody, okay? Okay. Beyond that, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantelleresco. Currently, past archived episodes of the podcast are there. More and more episodes are going there as we speak. Definitely should check that out and do what needs to be done. Above all else, though, whether you support me or you don't, thank you for listening. You should stay inspired. Do what you feel called to do. Don't be afraid to make the sacrifices required to find the success you're looking for. Because the real secret is, what are you willing to give up to go forward? That, more than anything else, I think determines how far you go. All right, guys, you take care of yourselves. All right, see you next time.
Josh.